and thoughts on Gators in this draft. As I predicted that the Gators would have one guy drafted early, either late first, early second would be Kyer Elam. And I bet the next Gator doesn't go until 6th or 7th round. So anyway, we'll get Pete's thoughts on that. If you missed it last night in the NBA playoffs, because I know so many people watched that, the Grizzlies tie up their series with the Timberwolves. The Phoenix Suns, the number 1 overall seed in the West, go down to the New Orleans Pelicans. Devin Booker leaves the game with a hamstring injury, which could haunt them the rest of the series. And the Miami Heat, the number 1 seed in the East, defeat the Atlanta Hawks. Baseball, Gators beat Stetson last night. Get ready for the Tennessee Volunteers, number 1 team in America, to roll into town. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline. Good morning, JC. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you? Trouble for Phoenix with Booker being out. But I think the most of the eyes on this are on Brooklyn and Boston that are going to play, I guess, tonight in game 2 of their series in Boston and before it goes to Brooklyn. A lot of news off the court there with Kyrie Irving and his issues with the Boston fans and so forth. So if you get into that, that's probably, I think, the most noteworthy playoff game in the NBA playoffs. As far as hockey goes, that's about 3-4 weeks away, or 3 weeks away before the playoffs start. Actually, beginning of May is when the playoffs start. So it's kind of backwards this year, where hockey is after the NBA and NBA is first. QB. So I got to tell you, I was reading The Athletic, and I get a lot of content off The Athletic. I think it's great, and it's very inexpensive. And we've talked at length over the last month or so about this kid, Nico Iamalea or whatever, out of California, who's signing up to play for the Tennessee Vols. And Andy Staples, I would encourage anybody who's interested in this sort of thing and how this is going and what the potential fallout could be from this type of thing happening with a college recruit. I would encourage everybody to read Andy Staples' column on this kid, Nico, who hasn't yet played it down at University of Tennessee, but is becoming a marketing guru for the school. It's almost as if he's employed by the school because of a sports marketing agency that's out of Knoxville, basically signing him up to do the work. And it's just fascinating to see where this has gone. And whether you agree or disagree with it, the reality is it is here. And it's almost becoming more about, or less about, the kids' football skills and more about the kids' marketability. Last year when Oregon played, Kayvon Thibodeau hardly ever played a game, but his marketability has now created some reason for him to be a first-round draft pick. Now, I'm sure he's a good player, but is he really a good player? So it's almost as if
But hang on. You can't compare this kid from Tennessee to Thibodeau because Thibodeau had performed at a high level.
Right, but my point is that it's becoming more about business and marketing almost, it seems. This kid from Tennessee is going to brand a pajama pants. He's going to brand pajama pants, and they're going to sell throughout the entire state. He can go to an ice cream shop with another recruit from California and bring in 50 people because of social media and the fact that he's the new rich guy in town. It's almost as if Tennessee has started now to become a place, well, they're trying to brand themselves as a place of destination for kids, because look what can happen if you come here, as opposed to, well, maybe you'll get on the field to play for the Big Orange. That, really isn't that competitive. And so now it's becoming that way, and it's all because of money, and it's because of a guy that they feel they can brand, and that's what's happening. And so whether you think it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's happening, and either you get on board and find that guy in your school, or you get left behind, it feels like. So read Andy Staples' column in The Athletic, because it really does shed light on so many things other than football. And that's not really what I'm interested in, but that is the reality that we're living in right now. And it's amazing.
And the reality is that kid may never take a snap for the Tennessee Volunteers.
Hey, the reality is that Will Anderson could come off the edge and end his career. All right. Or at least.
Well, he may not even, but here's the thing, JC, he may not be good enough to even get on the field, is my point. And like Andy says, because Andy and I agree and disagree about things like that, because Andy always tells me, I talk to him all the time. I see him at the gym all the time. He's like, It doesn't matter. It's not your money. And
Right.
that is so true. But I'm telling you that people are going to realize that just because this kid is under these contracts or whatever, he may never play a down. And that's what's so ridiculous. And it goes back to what Nick Saban, when he speaks, people listen, and it's usually true. And he says this has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness anymore. It is nothing about what it was supposed to be. It's about buying players. And that's fine.
True.
You can go buy players and they may work out. But I'm telling you, in the long run, it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe. But this sports marketing agency is using him for name, image, and likeness. And they are using him pretty broadly. And then the school is using him to recruit other players now. And Tennessee is shaping themselves into a place that you would want to go, because look at all the fun things that you can do. And the problem is that, and here I want to read this quote. I want to read this, just bear with me here, because this says it all to me. And it is it goes back to what the U.S. Supreme Court did last summer when they handed the NCAA a 9-0 defeat. This is from Andy's column. A 9-0 defeat in an antitrust case regarding how much educationally related money schools could give to athletes. And though the case that didn't directly reference paying athletes for their skill on the field, the justices made clear that any NCAA rule capping compensation was open to antitrust scrutiny in the federal court system. And this has scared schools from making any new rules and slowed even more NCAA's enforcement of the existing ones, which means they're not even going to think about capping or salary capping this situation. And so until they step up and say, we are, as schools, going to fight this, then really the law of the land is going to take over. And whether it's right or not, it is the reality. And that's what I'm saying, is that you adapt to it or you don't right now, unless
here's the thing.
Fight it.
Here's what I have to say to that. It has nothing to do with me adapting or agreeing with it, because I'm not going to agree with it. I have no. Like I told you.
Okay, then you're not going to win. You're not going to win. You're not going to get the players.
Well, here's the thing. Tennessee's not going to win either, JC. I don't give a damn who they go pay. It's going to be the same team. I'm telling you right now, in 10 years, it's going to be 5 to 6 schools that are winning right now, playing in the 14 playoff. It's not going to matter, because like Nick Saban said in a presser I saw yesterday, he goes, we don't have these groups forming, these marketing groups doing this. Our kids come here to play. They made a lot of money last year. We don't need to do any of that stuff. Ohio State doesn't need to do it. I'm just telling you, Tennessee can go do whatever they want to do with this kid, and they're going to end up falling flat on their face. You watch and see. But again, I have zero problem with the kid getting paid for autographs, for jerseys, food, car, whatever. But when you start buying players and giving them these ludicrous contracts that they never, ever, may ever play a down at your school, they're complete morons. That's all I mean, I don't know how else to say it. That's just my opinion, and I may be in the minority there. But it's not name, image, and likeness.
The sports marketing agency is who's paying this guy. Okay. They don't have anything to do with the University of Tennessee. They're out of Knoxville. It's a business. And that's part of the University of Tennessee.
So Joseph says right here, and Florida has the Gator Collective, which they pay guys to do interviews. They pay them for appearances and things of that nature. They're not paying them $8 million because they don't have $8 million, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so Joseph says paying one player a lot of money isn't going to help Tennessee. They need to pay about 57 players.
Again,
I'm just telling you.
Read the column. That's what I'm saying. It's not about one player. A guy named Jack Luttrell joined him at an ice cream shop. And before you know it, 3 other guys showed up. And then they had 25 ball fans and people from Knoxville all at the ice cream store. That's the point of the column. You read the
So back up.
Sure.
So it's no different than when Anthony Richardson goes and does signings for the Gainesville Dodge. Okay, people come there and they get his autograph. What the hell's that got to do with people showing up at an ice cream shop?
Well, I don't know. An ice cream shop might be a lot more fun for 20 other kids who are on social media than going to a car lot. And the point
my point is, so you think because 18 to 20 high school kids or college kids at Tennessee showed up at the ice cream shop to get this kid's autograph, that's going to make Tennessee get more players to come there.
No. But the hope is that this guy, as Andy says, allows him to have the Pied Piper effect on other highly touted prospects. He's already working on a kid from Arizona for the school. It's almost like I said, he's an employee. You will get a little bit more. You'll look. Just read the column. And I'm not telling you not, to agree with any of this. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm never going to agree with it because I don't think it's going to work.
But just be aware of what's happening, okay? And
I know what's happening, JC, because I've been in this business my whole life. I know how
the way it is today. You have
autographs.
You have not been in this business your whole life.
Right,
the way it is today is different.
Right. Because it's what they're doing now is very similar to professional football, but the difference is you actually have to perform at a high level to have an opportunity to play as a professional. These morons that are giving these kids money have not seen them play one down. They saw a huddle video of them in high school, and some coach or some booster said, you know what? That kid down the street there is a pretty good football player. Why don't you go give him $8 million? Okay. But I'm telling you right now, whatever group that is that gives this kid $8 million and he's sitting on the bench at Tennessee, they're going to be in Josh Heupel's ear the entire time. Why is our guy not playing?
Yeah, that's right.
Josh Heupel's going to say he ain't very good. Okay. So y'all are dumb enough to give him
or it could work out that the guy wins the Heisman Trophy. So, I mean, thing is,
it could. Yeah. There's only a handful of guys that win the Heisman Trophy.
Well, I'm using that as a figure of speech. You could become an AP All-American, whatever the case, all SEC. You could win the SEC championship, beat Alabama, whatever the case may be, beat Florida, and it's almost funny how it bleeds into other things. In the column talks about how this kid played baseball for the Vols. He used a bat, hit a home run against Vanderbilt. The bat was ruled ineligible because it didn't have a required sticker on it that indicated it had been expected. So they took the home run away, and the coach made light of the situation and basically said, yeah, this guy, Jordan Beck, he's actually a 35-year-old, and his real name is Mike Honcho. And he just shows up to practice every day and is a good kid, so we put him in the lineup. Next thing you know, there's 10,000 Mike Honcho shirts in Knoxville being circulated and sold. And this kid from the football player is all of a sudden wearing a Mike Honcho shirt, and it just feeds upon itself. It becomes a self-fulfilling thing. And that's what I'm talking about, is that
I'm going to tell you this right now. The Gators, because this is our team, the Gators have a ton of kids selling T-shirts already.
Right.
A ton.
Right.
Okay. So, there's nothing wrong with that. That is name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. Well,
why would I want to buy T-shirts of these kids? You go buy T-shirts. You love T-shirts. You change players and teams every week. My point is, Tennessee's not doing anything different other than whoever this group that gave him $8 million, which is stupid. Everybody else is doing in America. Every athlete is selling T-shirts and hats and things of that nature.
But you know what's happening?
Which is name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, but QB, what's happening and what hasn't happened for Tennessee in decades is that they're becoming almost relevant again without even winning anything, even though they did have a good year last year, and their baseball team is ranked number 1. But you're right. You have to perform on the field. All of this is contingent upon that. But Tennessee is becoming relevant again, just as a school with a sports program that all of a sudden has marketing ideas and things that are going out that attract.
Everybody's doing that, though. That's the thing, JC. They're not doing anything different than everybody else. The only difference they're doing is some moron gave this kid $8 million, and it's all over the news. But the Florida Gators, I can tell you this for a fact, have multiple players that have been selling T-shirts since last July.
Do you have a Mike Honcho T-shirt around town?
I don't even know who the hell Mike Honcho is, but you can buy an Anthony Richards, you can buy a Gervon Dexter, you can buy a Trent Whittemore, you can buy you name a player, you can buy their merch.
You just made my point. You don't know who Mike Honcho is, but 10,000 people in Knoxville do. Okay.
And you don't think. Okay, but my point is, so there's 10,000 people in Knoxville. You don't think 10 or 50,000 people in Gainesville don't know who Anthony Richard, Trent Whittemore, and those guys are?
I can tell you right now, there's not 50,000 people in Gainesville that can name 3 players on the baseball team. Yes, I can do that. And so that's
false. That's false.
That's
you got
false.
Two brothers that are, yes.
Okay, so so you're saying to me that there's 50,000 people in Gainesville that know more than 3 players on the Gator baseball team?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, how many people go to, okay, well, listen, then maybe I'm not aware of how popular the Gator baseball team is. Maybe that's possible. But you know, the thing is that Tennessee's making news. They're in the news, and that's
but again, they're making news because of $8 million. That is the only reason they're making news.
Well, okay, that's reality, isn't it? And that's
which is fine. But like I told you, that kid may never take a snap for the Tennessee Volunteers,
or he may win he may win the SEC and beat Alabama.
Okay, I'm gonna go right now, and we have a lunch bet that kid does not beat Alabama and he's never an all SEC quarterback. I'm gonna make that prediction right now.
No, I'm not saying he will. I'm saying it's there. It's all possible. Everything is possible.
Well, it's possible for Anthony Richardson to beat Alabama in the SEC championship.
Yeah,
game.
It's possible he can win the Heisman Trophy too. But I'm going to bet you a lunch bet. But I'm going to bet you a lunch bet. I'm going to bet you a lunch bet that he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy. Not that I'm not rooting for him, but I bet he does. How's that? You want to do that?
What? Say that one more time.
It's not a point.
I was reading Facebook Live. What was your wager?
Well, let's go to Facebook Live then. Go ahead.
Daniel says, QB, Florida better get up to speed or we're going to be left behind even more than we already are, even with the new facilities. Okay, so Daniel, let me ask you this. This is what people don't understand. Billy Napier, Scott Strickland, Phil Farr, who's the head of Gator Boosters, they have nothing to do with giving money to these players. I don't think people understand that. The people that are paying this ridiculous amount of money are business people that are boosters affiliated and love that school. So, Daniel, my question to you is, if you think we're going to fall behind, you need to stroke a check to some player that we're recruiting, because the school does not have anything to do with paying these players. I think people don't understand that. Do you realize that, JC?
Yeah, I realize that, QB. We talked about it.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about that either. I haven't mentioned one thing about the school paying anybody.
But I think some fans don't understand that. And by him saying that Florida better get up to speed, Florida's doing what they're supposed to do. They're recruiting athletes. They're building facilities with the money they have. They can tell Booster X in Tampa, Florida, we really like the quarterback at Jesuit. Now it's whoever wants to go throw money at that quarterback at Jesuit, you're on your own. The school has nothing to do with it. I don't think people understand that. So anyway, speaking of the Gators, Carlos Del Rio Wilson transfers quarterback. Not surprised. I knew he was going. I don't know the kid. Not good enough to play football at Florida. That's all I know. So we'll see where he ends up. He was a 4-star, but was never going to play here ever. So let me see what else we got here on the Facebook Live. Drake says, great response, QB. John says, the big bull Gator boosters need to pay up if that's what we're heading to do. But here's the thing. I think if you're a smart businessman, I mean, JC, okay, I know you're for some reason you're on the Tennessee Vol bandwagon today.
Oh, by the way, they just signed the #1 recruit in the state. First time that's happened in years.
They signed him, or he's committed?
He's committed. He's going to sign.
Okay, that's a different story. Signing has nothing to do with it. He doesn't sign until December. Okay, but my point is, okay, do you think that Tennessee, this kid, this $8 million kid, is really going to make a difference at the University of Tennessee?
Well, he's already making a difference off the field. On the field, I don't have any idea. But
how's he making a difference off the field? Because he showed up at an ice cream shop?
No, QB, you don't even understand what I'm saying. You just read Andy's column. Just read it and tell me if it makes an impression.
No, you're saying because he's helping recruit other athletes there.
It's pretty obvious
what everybody does.
It's pretty
Right,
obvious what's happening at Tennessee, okay? It's obvious that it's gotten the attention of the country, of the college football world, the fact that we're talking about it in Gainesville. If you can't understand any of this, I can't help you. But read Andy's column. Just do it. Forget about the gym and the
I don't
workout.
need to read it. I talked to Andy.
You don't need to read it.
I know what Andy's talking about.
Well,
Okay,
read it.
so John says
the story. It's a story about what's going on. And by the way, they did get a commitment from this 2023 recruit guy.
Okay, John says on Facebook Live, JC, remember Travis Hunter was committed for 2 years. Let's wait until they sign.
Yeah, I know.
Tennessee won't beat Bama. Here's the thing. I know it's not about me getting on board. If you know what y'all don't understand, and JC, you were against it, and then you started talking about how it's buying players. It has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. Nobody is doing it the way it's supposed to do. Even your head coach even said that. It's all going to come down to if a kid is going to get X amount of dollars to go play at your school. That's basically what it's come down to right now. That has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. So anyway, John says, I agree what you are saying, QB, about not paying the high school players because they haven't proven anything in college, and he could be an okay QB in college. Well, the kid may turn out, but I'm telling you right now, I don't care if I was the biggest booster. I'm curious if they've asked Hugh Hathcock, who's the largest donor that we've had, if he wants to make a donation to bring in a top-notch quarterback.
Yeah, listen. I'm not saying it's time to just go into the free agency market like an NFL team start drafting players and all that. I'm just saying what's happening today is well documented, and if you just read Andy's column, it might something in your brain may just pop and go, wow, this is pretty powerful stuff. Whether it works out or not for Nico Iamaleava or Jack Luttrell or whoever else is basically going to be determined on the field. And I think everybody gets that. We understand that. Bryce Young got a lot of money before he won the Heisman Trophy. So in that case, it worked out. So this is where things are happening. Young kids are on these social media sites. I mean, the world is smaller. It just is. And if you don't adapt to that, you will get left behind. It's just that simple. I mean, it's not adapting to it.
It's if your fan base has enough money. That's what it's about. It has nothing to do with adapting.
I think Florida's fan base has plenty of money, QB. They have plenty of money.
Okay.
Whether they spend it that way is another question. I don't know the answers to those things. That's not the point.
Again, but fans need to realize they can't focus on the university and the athletic association about this. They have nothing to do with it. And Brent says on Facebook Live, it's the number one recruit in Tennessee. He can't be that good, which is true. They haven't had a whole lot of – Tennessee's one of the worst states when it comes to high school football. It's been a fact. So I wouldn't read a lot into that. And I think Andy does tremendous work, and I'm not questioning what Andy says. I'm just telling you that I don't give a damn what this kid from California is doing for Tennessee at an ice cream shop, because I don't think he's going to ever play a down for Tennessee.
Okay.
And, in 2 years, we may come back on this show, and he may be the all-SEC quarterback, and I'll eat crow. But until then, I've seen way too many quarterbacks that are highly rated that ain't worth a damn.
Well, listen, I think for this kid, his attention is being diverted from really what he's meant to do right now. And when he does get into Knoxville, and when he is at fall practice, all of this stuff off the field has to take a back seat. And that's why Bryce Young has been so great, is that he is able to compartmentalize so much. And in the heat of the moment, when people are coming off the edge or through the middle, he can make plays. So that's the difference, is that we've seen that kid do it. We know he can, but he's a very special kid. He's a different kid. He can take care of things that are potential distractions and not allow them to affect his play. We don't know what Nico Iamaleava is all about. That's true. But the story is there. It has happened. And that's something that I find somewhat interesting. Whether I think it's right or wrong is irrelevant. Whether I think he's going to be a Heisman Trophy winner or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is that it is real. And it is a story that's fascinating to me because of the way things are changing so quickly. And yeah, you can make fun of Tennessee as a state that doesn't have great football players. But the point is, the greatest defensive lineman ever played at Tennessee. Okay. And so, it just don't be so close-minded to thinking that, well, this guy may not be a great player because he's supposedly the number one player in Tennessee, or he may be the next great player. Nobody knows. So that doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay. That doesn't matter.
Greg says on Facebook Live, how do you know college football coaches aren't talking to boosters trying to pay recruits to come to? Well, they are, Greg. That's what Texas A&M did. Jimbo said, I want these guys. Y'all go put the LLCs together and spend $30 million. And that's what happened. My point is, some people are smart enough to realize, why give these kids money when we don't know if they're worth a darn? It's called a return on investment. Real quick, though, I lost my train of thought, what I was going to talk about. Coach Napier was in Tampa last night speaking to the Gator Club down there. He's on his tour. I know for a fact Florida has they have a plan in place for NIL, but there has to be somebody on the outside doing it all. And I don't know. It has nothing to do with me buying into how college football is now. I will tell you this, JC. Think about this. Think about this.
All right.
Would you say these teams right here are pretty damn good? Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Have you heard anything in the news about them coming out and talking about our player X got this amount, this player for us got that amount? Have you heard them say anything about that?
Well, last year, Nick Saban did mention that about Bryce Young. Yes.
He basically said, look, our quarterback is making money. That's all he said. They're not.
I thought I heard the word media. I heard a word. I think he said something about $1 million.
I'm not right. But what I'm saying, though, is you don't see them blasting it everywhere, because those teams, they have plans in place, and they know they're damn good, and players are going to come play for them no matter what.
Yes.
Tennessee has to do this because Tennessee is irrelevant. You said they're trying to become relevant, which is true, but they're just blasting nonsense out so they get clicks.
Well, the school isn't. Andy Staples decided to write a story about this kid. That was on the school. School didn't hire Andy to do it, my man. Okay, Andy decided to do it, and a lot of guys are doing it. A lot of people are writing these kinds of stories because it gets readers, it gets eyeballs. It generates conversation. It's exactly what we're doing right now. And that is happening. So Tennessee Tennessee's marketing, the Tennessee podcast or the Tennessee radio show or the Tennessee network. They're not the ones promoting all this.
Well, they have to, because like you said, they've been irrelevant, and Tennessee it's one of the hardest places to recruit kids to go to because of their state just does not have great talent, and that's why you see kids from all over the country go play there, because they are. JC, we gotta run real quick and get our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com and join us right now for the Peachland Dentistry golf picks for the Zurich Classic. I'll let you go first. Who you got?
Okay. Well, this is a team event at the Zurich Classic in New Orleans. I'm going to go with Morikawa and Victor Hovland.
Okay. I'm going with Sunjay M and Ben Hahn. So M and An are my first pick.
You love the Korean golfers. There's just no question about it.
They're pretty damn good.
They are. I mean, they are. I'm going to go with, this kid. I don't know who Riley is, but I do know who Will Zalatoris is, and I love his game, so I'm going to take his team.
All right. I'm going to take Taylor Gooch and Max Homa.
Max Homa. Okay. All right. Now we're getting into some names that I'm just not really on board with, but I'm going to take Harold Varner III and Bubba Watson is my last pick, just because I think Harold just keeps the ball in play, makes pars, if anything. He never really makes big numbers. So I like Harold's game. Bubba can make birdies. We'll go with that team.
I'll go with the Australians, Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That Leishman was part of the winning team. Leishman was part of the winning team last year. Him and Smith won it last year, so they're the defending champions.
He was partnered with Cam Smith last year.
Yeah, they won it last year. They're the defending champions.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, JC, well, go get your damn Tennessee Vol gear. I know you're excited about the Tennessee Vols. We gotta talk NFL draft with our man Pete Prisco.
All right, good deal. See ya.
All right, we're gonna take a quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Pete Prisco talking NFL draft.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Ironwood Golf Course. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Dave & Buster's, Bass Pro Shops, Hotel Indigo, Medici's, Escapeapology, Kilwin's, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where you can get 50% off a bottle of wine every Wednesday. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Pete Prisco, senior NFL columnist for CBSSports.com. You can follow Pete on Twitter at Prisco CBS. Good morning, Pete. How you doing, my man?
What's up, Shane? How are you?
I'm doing well. Wanted to get you on. Draft is a week from tomorrow. It's in Vegas this year, right?
It is in Vegas, and I'm heading out there next Wednesday.
Oh boy, that'll be you won't get any sleep out there, my man. Let's talk real quick. Jaguars. The Jags get the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, last year was a disaster with Urban there. I really like. I don't follow the NFL that close anymore. That I'm not looking to see what quarterbacks get cut so I can maybe get a job. But the Jags were a disaster last year. I think with Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, Doug being a quarterback himself, I think it's really going to help him. And then the acquisitions that they made this year, don't you think the Jags are already a much better football team? And what do you think they do with that first pick?
Oh, they're definitely a much better team. And the culture's changed. Urban was a disaster in there. And, you've heard all the stories. He didn't know what he was doing. He had no idea. He treated them like they were college kids. The guy on the microphone, the whole thing, on and on it goes. And he was a disaster. And Doug Peterson, A, he played in the league, so he knows what it's about. And B, treats those guys with respect and treats them like professionals. And they're already talking about how much different it is. And I think that's good for Trevor Lawrence. They've made some, free agent acquisitions. A lot of people killed him for the Christian Kirk deal, but, Sean Jefferson was the wide receivers coach in Arizona, and I've known Sean for a long time, and all he does is rave about Christian Kirk and what kind of kid he is and how he works at it, and he thinks he's going to be a big-time player for the Jaguars. So, yeah, they get Brandon Scherf. They upgrade the offensive line. Defensively, they added a couple of key pieces. They're a better football team. The question becomes how much better, A, and B, where are there players who are the top at their positions right now? It's hard to find any, which is why when you look at that number 1 pick, you have to look at it and say, if I draft Evan Neal, in 5 years, he's going to be one of the top left tackles in the game. If I draft Aiden Hutchinson, is he going to be one of the top 5 pass rushers in the game? And I think that's where they're at as a franchise. They almost have to take the left tackle. And I know, Shane, they signed, Cam Robinson signed his tender, but Jawan Taylor's been a disaster at right tackle. And even if you did want to try and push him and make him play better, if you did draft Evan Neal, then you could play Neal at guard for a year and then slide him out there next year, because that's what, teams do. You saw that with, Jonathan Ogden way back in the day. So I think offensive line, if you're really building it around that quarterback, make it one of the best offensive lines in the league and move on from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you look at the Jags running back, James Robinson, I think he's an okay back. I don't think he's a everyday starter in the National Football League. I think he's more of a backup. I could be wrong. Do you think Travis Etienne steps in as the starting tailback for them?
Well, remember, Robinson's coming off the Achilles, so he's probably not going to be around for a while. And Etienne's coming off the foot injury. And so you got two backs that are, coming off major injuries. And so there is some uncertainty at that position. They say Etienne's going to be ready to do some stuff during the OTAs, so he's clearly going to be ready for training camp, which is a good thing. But I still think they need to address back at some point in this draft, and it's a deep running back class. And anybody who's ever followed me knows I'm a big believer in don't draft him in the first round. Don't pay him the second contract. You draft him, you run him hard, and then you draft another one. I mean, that's what you do with the running back position. And it so happens that there's a bunch of backs in this draft. I mean, all the way down to 10, 15, in their rankings, those running backs are going to be contributors. And I think you could find those guys. A guy like Jerome Ford at Cincinnati. I mean, he's a kid, went to Alabama, big kid, explosive, good. He has the ability to rip off long runs. He'll probably go in the 4th and 5th round and be a productive NFL back. And I think that's what the Jaguars have to do with their running back position as well.
Let's talk about the Dolphins real quick. They made a lot of moves, obviously getting Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs. A lot of pressure on Tua to perform this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's all bullseye right on him. I mean, you go out and get Tyreek Hill and add him to Jalen Waddle. You can, give those guys a baton. That's how fast they are. They can fly. But it's all on Tua, and not just from a playing standpoint. Talking to people around that team, he wasn't exactly the first in, last out. He struggled with the playbook at times, and does he love the game? And I think those are all major questions that need to be answered this year. This is a prove it year. If he doesn't do it, and they clearly were out there shopping around, sniffing around the quarterback market, if he doesn't do it, he's gone, even with Mike McDaniel there. Mike McDaniel will make it easier on him. They run that San Francisco offense, and that's easier on a quarterback, or easier on a quarterback. But still, he's got to be out in there, first in, last out, and really be dedicated to it, or else he's going to struggle.
Let's talk about the Bucs before we get to the Gators and the draft and the quarterbacks. Brady comes back. I guess most people, pick the Bucs to basically them and the Rams and maybe the Packers, I guess, out of the NFC. Were you surprised with Bruce Arians stepping down?
Not really, and I'll tell you why. And I know Bruce pretty well. Here's why. He celebrated his 50th anniversary last summer, and his wedding anniversary. And Bruce has always been one of those guys that put football first. And I think, I think after the season, he probably went back and talked to his wife. He's had a lot of major health issues over the years, including last year. I mean, he was basically gimping around. And I think he probably went back and talked to his wife, and she said, look, enough is enough of this. I mean, it's been a long time. You're getting up in the years. Let's spend some time with our kids and our grandkids. And that's why ultimately, I think looking at the health situation, his family situation, I think that's why he stepped away. And, all that talk about Brady pushing him out and everything else, I never bought that. And here's why. Knowing Bruce the way I know him, there's no way if he got forced out, he's going upstairs to take a job. That's just not who Bruce Arians is. So I wasn't surprised that he did walk away. I think the timing was a little interesting. But again, sometimes when you get done a season, it takes a couple weeks to kind of, or a couple, 6 weeks to kind of regroup and see where you are if you want to do it all over again.
Oh, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Jim. He says, Pete, what are Kyle Trask's chances of maybe being the backup this year? I know they signed Blaine Gabbert, but does he have a chance to be the number 2 guy?
I think he has a chance, but I think ideally in this year to be, they want to get a better idea of what Trask can do, and they like Trask. I know I talked to them before Brady decided to come back. I talked to a couple of their people at the combine, and they like Trask. And in fact, they said if Trask was in this draft, he'd probably be one of the higher picks in the draft. based on where the quarterbacks are right now. So, yeah, I think Gabbard will be the backup this year with Brady there. And then maybe Trask will get some opportunities, particularly in the preseason, to show what he can do. And then down the road, I think they do like Trask and maybe give him an opportunity to be the starter next year if Brady does walk away.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. A few more minutes with Pete Prisco from CBSSports.com talking NFL draft. All right, let's talk those quarterbacks. I see on Twitter you talk about when you look at when you're grading the guys, watching all the tape, and you watch all the tape. I don't watch any tape. I just watch what I see on the TVs. I do not understand Malik Willis, and he may end up being an all-pro quarterback for all I know. I just don't see it. I don't think you see it either, right?
No, I don't. And sometimes when I watch the tape of the guys and I get this, first feeling, and then I go back and I'll watch some more to see if I change. And then when I went to the combine, I ran it by a bunch of people I really trust, and they all said the same thing. They don't see it either. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to get drafted high, but they don't see it either. He doesn't play quarterback. It's not quarterback what he does. And he's like a running back playing quarterback. And granted, he's got a big arm. We get it. I get it. And he can move around a little bit, although he's not Lamar Jackson. He's more of a running back. He's stocky. He's kind of square. And so I just don't see it there. For example, when he played Ole Miss, as fast as he looked against other teams, he looked okay against Ole Miss running the football, but he didn't look as explosive. And that tells me a little bit about what he's going to look like on the next level. And not only that, Shane, there's games where, and I'll give you an example, bubble screen, fake bubble screen, easy read, right? You fake the bubble screen, you try and hit the one down the seam. Well, the safety reads it too, and he throws it right into his arms. I mean, you got to be able to see that. And I don't know that he plays any version of quarterback at Liberty. So it's a projection with him. I wouldn't take him. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably take him in the second or third round. I don't love any of these quarterbacks. I mean, the most NFL ready is Pickett. And Pickett, the one thing I do like about Pickett, and you'll know this from playing the position, is he comes in and he's got a little bit of that it. Like it's my huddle, it's my team. You're going to listen to me and we're going to play. And I'm going to show you how good I am. It's almost like a poor man's Joe Burrow, because that's what Joe Burrow is. And contrast that to Tua. Tua doesn't have that. I don't think he ever had it. And I think you need that to play the quarterback position. So I'd probably take Pickett one. My number two would be Ritter. And the more I watched him, the more I liked. And the more I talked to people around the league, he handled himself really well in the process. He's got a little bit of that it to him as well, and can handle the huddle and handle the locker room. He doesn't have a big arm. It's good enough, but he knows where to go with the football, and he's athletic. So I'd go 1 Pickett, 2 Ritter, probably 3 Howell, 4 Willis, and then 5 maybe Matt Corral. And Matt Corral is tiny. He's 205, and he's a little bit wild. You watch him.
Hey. I was a $195 in my 14 years, but I was.
Yeah, but you weren't 6 foot. You weren't 6 foot, though.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I mean, he's 6 foot, 205, and he's wide. He's like you've watched him. He's kind of herky-jerky wild, don't you think? I mean, he's a little unsettled playing. I don't love any of them. The one guy that's interesting, Shane, and it's a shame that he has a bad knee, is the kid from Nevada, Carson Strong. Boy, can he spin it.
He can play.
Yeah, but here's what happened. The knee has, been surgically repaired twice. He wore a brace on it all last year. Then he took the brace off, and it looked like mentally he struggled with taking the brace off, particularly at the Senior Bowl. So how do you get that out of him? If you get that out of him and that knee holds up, a team who takes him in the third round is going to get a steal.
We got a question here on Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. They want to know, John wants to know, who's going to be the quarterback for the Steelers? Do they draft anyone?
They will draft one. I don't know if they'll draft one in the first round. I hear they like Carson Strong a lot. And if you look at their last quarterback, he's a big, strong, physical guy who can sling it. Roethlisberger was able to move early in his career, but later in his career he couldn't. I think they draft a quarterback. I don't know if they'll draft one in the first round. If Ritter were there and they were picking, that's who I would take. I would take him because Trubisky's clearly not the answer. We're
speaking with Pete Prisco here. A couple more questions. Switching to the Gators. Obviously, probably the highest Gator selected will be Kyer Elam, maybe late first round, early second. Where do you have him graded?
Yeah, I think he's a late first round player. He's got some amazing ability. Didn't always play to it, but the talent is there. And I think he's a guy that's going to go into the NFL and do one of two things: either really improve his game or be a disaster. There's always that guy. You look at him and you go, boy, everything about him says all pro, and then you don't necessarily see it all the time. And you watch them. There's some inconsistency there, but I think the talent is certainly there, and he gets the right team. I think he's going to be a hit for whoever gets him. I like Pierce. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think why didn't they use him, Shane? Why was he not used at the University of Florida?
That's the $1 million question. And, me being the color analyst, it just drove us crazy that this guy was so productive. He's such a team player too, Pete. That's the thing that I think he's going to last in the NFL a long time. Usually running backs don't. And I'm not saying he's going to be a starting running back, but he's that guy that will do whatever the coach asks him to do. I think he'll be a great special teams player, which you have to do if you're not a superstar. I just think he's a guy that will be a steal for whoever takes him. Where do you think he'll go?
He's a second or third rounder. Third rounder. The NFL people like him a lot. They think they think he's one of those guys that the best football's in front of him, and he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body. And that's important
Correct.
For the NFL people. When you see backs come into the league and they're running to the ground, sometimes that really hurts them on the next level. You only have so many carries in your body, and he doesn't have a ton of them. So that's a plus for him. I think, again, when I go back to my evaluation of the running backs, it's a deep class, and he's one of those guys. I like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great pro.
What do you think of Elam? You watched him all year.
I think Elam's a guy. He's long. He's physical. I think he's a guy that can last in the league a long time. I do think, people were on me with the Wilson kid that went to the Arizona Cardinals that started for them this past year.
Yeah.
And I said, look, he's got what they want. Everybody wants to look at the game where he threw the shoe, So the Gator Nation was down. I was like, look, this guy's going to play in the NFL. I don't know how long, but he's got everything they look for. And he ended up starting as a rookie. Well, I think Kyer Elam's better than him. I think he's long, as I said, physical. I think he's going to be a really good corner in the National Football League. But again,
yeah, I do too.
You could be a bust. Yeah, you can be a bust immediately at that position, because I don't think people realize how hard it is to cover dudes in the National Football League. It's ridiculous. We got a text here on the Titan More text line from Jim. Jim wants to know, where do you see Zach Carter being drafted?
He's an interesting kid. The more I watched him, the more I liked. In fact, I do a list of the guys I like better than the scouts, and I almost put him on it. He's an interesting guy. I think he's probably going to go fourth round, maybe fifth round, late third, fourth, fifth, somewhere in there. But he's another guy that, when you look at the NFL, he's one of those guys that 8 years from now you look and go, okay, he's never been a great starter or anything, but he's been a rotation guy and been around the league for a long time. I think that's what you're going to get with a guy like Zach Carter.
Yeah. All right, Pete, I know it's April 20th. Give me your Super Bowl pick for next year. Who's playing?
Well, the NFC will be narrowed down to 3 teams, and I think that's pretty easy. It's the Rams, the Packers, and the Bucks. And I think of those group, I think the Packers are going to go receiver early, get some speed. I'm going to pick the Packers. I think they have the best quarterback. I know Brady's with the Bucks, but I think the Bucks have some issues with the transition and coaching. So I'll take the Packers. And then in the AFC, oh my God, good luck with that. I'll pick Buffalo. I picked Buffalo, Green Bay last year. I'm going to stick with it. I'll take the Bills. I think the Bills by the end of the year were the best team in 13 seconds. And all they had to do, 13 seconds, and they were probably going to win the AFC Championship game at home against Cincinnati. And I thought they would have beat the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Well, I picked about this time in the summertime, I picked Buffalo to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Maybe you and I think too much alike, because I think Buffalo is clearly the best team in football. Real quick, back to the Packers. Because I've said many times on my show, I have people always ask me who I think is the best quarterback I've ever seen. If I had a franchise, who would I pick? It always goes back to Aaron Rodgers. Say what you want to say off the field, whatever, but he's the most talented guy I've ever seen in my life play the position. Were you
I love it.
surprised?
I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league for a long time, and you're right. I mean, look, he's different, no question about that. And but man, the things he can do, and particularly when he gets outside the pocket, he's creative. That arm, the whole deal. He's good inside it. I mean, look, he's special. I'd still take Marino throwing the football. I mean, to me, that's the best I've ever seen. If Marino played in today's era with these rules, he'd throw for 6,500 yards and 60 touchdowns. But Rodgers is right there. I mean, he is definitely special. And if I had to pick a quarterback to play with, for a year, right now I would probably take Rodgers. I mean, not for the long run, but for right now, I'd take Rodgers.
Yeah. So real quick, we got about a minute left. Were you surprised he re-signed with Green Bay?
No, I didn't think. I think his options were going to be to retire or go back to Green Bay. I mean, look, legacy matters to some guys, and I think he might not act like it does, but you're the Green Bay Packers quarterback for your entire career. That matters, and so I think it mattered to him. The Adams situation was interesting, and there's a lot of talk about, oh well, they're best friends. Why didn't he go back? Well, they really weren't that close. Somebody told me that in the know that they were good on the field together, but they talked spent maybe 8 times or something off the field together. It wasn't like they were really good friends. And you hear, where's all the talk about him griping and moaning and groaning that he lost his receiver? You haven't heard a peep about that. So clearly that was not the issue. He's different, but he's a great player.
Yeah, he really is. Okay, Pete, how can everybody check out your work?
CBS Sports HQ, our digital network, where I'm on there a lot. In fact, today we got at 4:00, if you want to go on there and watch us, we got a mock draft we're doing. 3 of us, we make all the picks, and I have pick number 1, and I can tell you got a good idea who I'm going to pick with that pick. It's fun at CBS Sports HQ and then CBSSports.com, and you can also see me at Prisco CBS on Twitter.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate your time, Pete. Enjoy Vegas. Stay out of trouble, my man.
Always. All right, Shane. Take care.
Yeah, that's Pete Prisco. Join us on the Titan MRI Hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Appreciate JC joining us as well. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, Aikido America, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.